Hello, my name is Victoria Kennefick and I'm a poet, writer and teacher based in County Kerry and from County Cork originally. I'm speaking to you from Carrigaline Library in County Cork as I've just been appointed Cork County Council Writer in Residence, and as such have the opportunity to work with creative writing groups all over the county on their poetry and prose, so I'm really excited about that. My second collection, Eggshell, is due out with Carcanet Press on the 29th of February 2024, so it's a leap year baby, which I'm very excited about. The book, which was very interesting and exciting to put together in many respects, is divided into two sections, so I like to refer to it as a double album. The first part of the book, Egg, deals with secondary infertility, which is something that I wasn't necessarily particularly familiar with before it became, unfortunately, very relevant in my life. And for those of you that don't know, because I didn't, it's basically where a first baby is born without complication, and then the couple have difficulties in conceiving and having a second child or subsequent child. So it's a strange form of infertility because there is a child that exists, and so it's a very conflicted space around wanting something you already have in many respects that many other people would be so grateful for, which of course you are. So I used the symbol of the egg because obviously it's a fertility symbol, but also I was so taken by the fact that it is so fragile and so delicate, but equally an incredibly strong and contained receptacle for life. But it equally has to be broken in order for life to actually exist successfully. So there was something around that multiple interpretation of the egg that really allowed me to access a lot of these more difficult questions and feelings around secondary infertility. The second part of the book, Shell, deals with what happens when the speaker's spouse comes out as a trans woman. And this is a really, I suppose, interesting part of the book in terms of the fact that it was difficult to access that part of the speaker's experience. And again, the egg provided a way and a means to do that, I think, in the writing, as well as playing around with form and different voices. I think what really helped was learning that trans slang for somebody realizing they're trans, and it's a really beautiful expression, is your egg cracks. So somebody realizes they're trans and there's no going back. Ultimately, it's like having this epiphany, having this realization. And I'm sure it's different for everybody and doesn't necessarily ring true in that respect for everybody, but that sense of something breaking apart, but something emerging, something beautiful emerging out of it. And once I kind of learned that, I could really see the connection between egg and shell and how they really spoke to each other. And I hope in the book that while they're very different in terms of theme and intention, they're equally incredibly connected and really part of the same story, the egg and the shell, as it were, the gooey center and the brittle shell outside. So I think having it split in two makes it an interesting reading experience because it obviously can be read straight through, but equally I think sitting with each section provides a different interpretation, a different experience of what the poems are about individually. I was very lucky when I was writing this book that I had the opportunity to attend a number of residential retreats in beautiful places. So I'd like to thank the Tyrone Guthrie Centre in County Monaghan, the Greywood Art Centre in Killa in County Cork, and the Centre Culturel Irlandais in Paris for providing me with a home to write this book in, uninterrupted, cosseted and minded, allowing myself to completely emerge and submerge in the writing. And that's really how I work best, is being completely engrossed in it and having that space and time and deep, concentrated, focused thinking, which is, I think, unsustainable over a long period, but certainly in the week and month that I spent in these various wonderful places, it allowed me to really dig deep into this book and really provided me with a lot of inspiration and a lot of time to think and to really feel my way around these difficult, painful and complicated issues. And I really hope that I have done them justice, because I was given that time and that space to really think about the best way of exploring one speaker's experience of these events happening that are outside of her control, and how she, through poetry, through words, through engaging with the symbols of egg and swans was another huge symbol that was very important in the book, and swans appear throughout the book, and they've always been a really important animal for me. I've always really related to the fact that they look so graceful and elegant and contained and serene as they float on the water, and then once they get out you see their big awkward black webbed feet and the way that they kind of plod around on the earth. These two sides of them, I always feel quite fond and quite moved by how different they are on land as on sea. So I used that very much as well to access the more complicated and difficult parts of the emotional experience of writing this book, which was a very cathartic experience and a very joyful one in many respects, because I think it very much led to, and the book ultimately is about acceptance and accepting things as they are and opening your heart and learning to love the life that you have, which is a huge challenge, as I'm sure you all know in your own experiences. It was strange putting the selection together, but I think once I had made the connection between egg and shell, and that sense that the swans were going to be in both parts of the book, that really helped in structuring the book and telling the story. So there is a kind of story if you read the book through straight, but equally I hope it's just as rewarding to just pick up and read an individual poem or a selection of poems from either section, and indeed across sections. So like a double album, it's designed to, you can sit down and read through, or you can pick the greatest hits, as it were, and enjoy it that way. So I hope that is a rewarding experience for readers. I have a lot of favourite pieces in the book, but I think the poem that probably at the moment, and I think that always changes, but the one that means the most to me at the moment is Child of Lear, which is inspired by a poem by Alice Oswald. And I think this is important to me because it is the poem where the speaker finally accepts really what is happening to her in terms of the secondary infertility, in terms of the loss of her marriage and the loss of her spouse, and her identity in many respects that she has spent so long constructing and building, and having to allow and watch the eggs breaking and celebrating, allowing herself to celebrate what emerges, but equally having to tidy up the wreckage too. And that kind of conflict between growth and loss, between gain and celebration, and losing and winning, is something that I am very cognizant of, because no matter what you gain, there's always a loss, and no matter what you lose, there's nearly always a gain in some way, whether that be wisdom or awareness or compassion or empathy. It's all about being able to identify what it is that you're gaining and what it is that you're letting go of, and being accepting of both. And that is not an easy journey. And I hope that the poem speaks to that. And I hope that other people, when they read it, that it will resonate with them, whatever they're going through, that there is, that it's okay to mourn, but it's also okay to celebrate your newfound freedom or your newfound perspective, or the permission for you to be yourself as you watch somebody become their true selves. It's a really radical and beautiful thing to witness in many respects. I'm very grateful to Carcanet Press for the opportunity to publish my second collection with them. I'm really proud to be published by them, and the care and the thought and the attention to detail that they gave my book. I'm really grateful to my editor, John McAuliffe, for always being there for me and for believing in Eat, Read, Both Starve when he came across it for the first time, and equally for being so encouraging and supportive around this book. Which obviously is very different in terms of theme and content, but I think still speaks to a lot of the concerns that I had or that were explored in Eat, Read, Both Starve. So I hope that you will enjoy Eggshell when it comes your way, and I really hope that it will be of use to all of you who are going through difficult spells in your lives or changes in your lives, I sometimes hope that it might be some kind of manual to maybe allow you to look at multiple perspectives of what is possible when you're going through change, the darkness and the light. And I hope it finds its way to you, and thank you so much for listening.